This was one of my most anticipated basketball shoes of 2023 until I saw those Air Jordan 38s, boy, them look sick. Yo, what's good guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and review on these potential bad boys right here. This is the Jordan Tatum 1, and until I got these in hand, I was dumb excited. But then all of that excitement unfortunately went out the window. I don't know if these are gonna be a great basketball shoe. I do love some of the colorways, but colorways don't equal performance, so we'll see about that. We will be sending these over to one of our testers, Alan, but so far this is just gonna be the breakdown on what they feature, how they feel so far.
You know the drill.
So first things first, the outsole is very interesting because we do have actual rubber, but they went ahead and kind of did what Curry's been doing, and they added just foam. Now we've talked about this multiple times on the channel, but in case you're new here, one of the easiest ways for a shoe company to reduce weight is by either thinning out the rubber to the point to where like it frays even indoors, which is something that most of us have been getting kind of accustomed to over the last decade or so. And then the other way is to remove the rubber altogether, which is kind of what they did here. So does it perform or feel like it will perform as good as, if not better than, something like Under Armour's Flow? And so far I have to say no, which is very surprising to me because I have used foam-based tractions from Nike Jordan before. Like they did the Karachi B-Ball Free around 2012-ish, and it was a free bottom. They had a little pivot point of rubber, but everything else was foam, and they actually gripped the floor indoors, dust or no dust, really, really well. These though, I bring them onto my little stage thing, which has the cleanest hardwood floor of all time besides maybe an NBA court. And while the forefoot traction feels super grippy, this heel stuff, man, like whatever foam they use, it feels slippery as hell. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe it's the color that they tinted the foam with. Whatever's going on, I don't know if people are gonna love this on court. Now, luckily, most players do stride and strike, move and pivot and things like that on their forefoot. So a lot of forefoot heavy or isolated movements and motions. But for some of those people that actually like do go to break and things like that with their heel, which is most of us, I think that that's where you're gonna either run into solid traction or really slippery traction. And I have a feeling that it's going to be on the slippery side. So yeah, it's just one of those things where, especially since there is actual rubber there, it's extremely noticeable. Like I'm able to grip our little stage there really nicely up front and almost not at all in the back. So I don't, again, know how everybody's gonna feel about it. I just
have a bad feeling about this.
Most of the shoe is made up of that foam. I believe it's just lightweight Phylon. The shoe itself is extremely lightweight, so for those of you guys that like that, you're probably going to like that aspect. But again, that weight thing is not gonna really matter if the foundation of the shoe is slippery, so fingers crossed. But we do have that foam there. You can see damn near through it, which I think is a really cool feature. There's some parts of the shoe in this whole section, the tooling and the cushion and things like that, that I absolutely love. And then there are parts that have me scratching my head being like, yo, how did that even get approved? It's a very strange setup. The heel area is all foam. So when you look through the midfoot section, you can actually see obviously through it. So that whole midfoot is carved out. Again, a lot of weight reduction there, but then you can actually see where the foam goes from, you know, the top to the bottom of the sole and everything like that. So it's basically like a foam pillar or pad right there, which is really interesting. There's no cushion in the back. It's just the foam. And then the forefoot is a super large volume zoom unit. So this is very similar to the Air Jordan 34 and 35 in the sense that it's unlocked, it's exposed, it's open. However, it doesn't feel as bouncy as either of those two shoes, which again is kind of surprising, somewhat disappointing. I'm not saying that these are going to be bad or anything. I'm just saying that when I first put them on, I'm expecting a certain level of bounce and spring underneath that forefoot area, and I didn't get it. Now, the whole structure of this whole thing is really interesting because most of all of this area that's carved out is being supported by what looks like TPU. It's all the red portions. It should work really well. I love the way that it looks. I love the way that it's wrapped up around all of the support areas of the shoe. It's even on the medial side at the arch plate and everything. You can see it right through the bottom as well. So this is going to act as a stabilizer, not just for all of the components that are literally missing, but also for, you know, motion and movement as well. It should also act as a spring plate too, which is going to be very cool. It should also activate or allow the zoom to really activate and be truly unlocked and move and bounce and things like that, like absorb and deflect energy. It's a really cool looking system. It's a very cool feeling system. It's just just not as bouncy as the 34s and 35s. But then the part that has me scratching my head is literally at the midfoot area. The midfoot doesn't have like a traditional plate or anything there. So like your foot is floating above this missing area here. And I can push down with my finger and the whole midfoot area kind of like sinks and bows. It's one of the reasons why we had a switch up to the tooling between the Air Jordan 28 and the Air Jordan 29, where there was a forefoot midsole and outsole and then a rear foot midsole and outsole. The whole thing was decoupled and it was bridged with a carbon fiber plate. That at the bare minimum would have been, or should have been, probably in here to allow that bowing to not happen. But what they ended up doing is placing the tendril that you'll see on the Air Jordan 29 that connects the bridge, or the gap between the bridge between the gap.
You win. Perfect.
And again, that's just missing here. Some people, maybe people with flat feet or maybe just heavier players, I do believe that that's going to bow down and it might stress you out a little bit. Not mentally, but physically. So that's something that I'm just surprised that they did not do. There's no torsion bar in there. There's no TPU chassis like a sprint frame or anything like that. I just think it's a very strange thing to do, especially for a brand like Jordan, where they've literally been making shoes for like 37 years. And so it's like, that's kind of like a rookie mistake right there. So I think that that's very strange that they've done that. I think with extensive play, again, you might end up with foot fatigue or plantar issues. Now, I don't know if an insole, like a move insole that has an arch plate in there, will actually help. It might, especially since it does go from like rear to midfoot. I'm just not positive because that's just a very strange thing. I don't know how I would have fixed that. I probably wouldn't have done the whole hollow thing, at least not in the midfoot area. I would have kept that isolated to the forefoot. Now, the upper is basically what all of us have been getting used to with the 36 and the 37s. It's a Leno weave upper. It's very thin, very lightweight. This one feels a lot stronger than what was in the 37s. I don't think that these are gonna break. Fingers crossed, you never know, but I'm sure somebody that's huge might be able to plow through it, but I don't know if any of us regular people are actually gonna be able to break these things. But what this material is going to allow is for the shoe to remain super lightweight and super breathable without much need for break-in time. One concern though is just the way that this material rubs against your foot. It's one of those things that has always chewed my toes up and I don't like it. So I don't know how to, again, combat that. Maybe thicker socks, or what are those things that you like tape your feet up with, like ladies use them for their high heels and their pumps?
Or like moleskin?
Something like that, yeah, like maybe something like that, but I just don't know if even that will help. So just be aware that that could be a concern. Now the rear material looks to be some sort of leather. Is it 100% genuine leather? I don't know, it doesn't feel like it, but that could also just be the PU coat that they put on top of there. They've also, at least for this colorway, stitched the out of it, so it's got the design implemented into it. Now the insole is this piece of right here, and yeah, it's not good. So if you did want to replace that, I would suggest doing it before you play in them, just because then you'll heat up the glue, it'll get stuck, all that stuff, and then you have to use a hairdryer just to get it out and put in a new one. Now as far as sizing is concerned, they do fit true to size. Whatever you typically wear, that's exactly what I would order. They are slightly slender, so be aware of that. If you're a narrow footer, you might absolutely love this. If you're a wide footer, you might not, especially this thing. If you don't like the Jordan 4 and what that little piece of the midsole does to your toe, you're probably not gonna like these either. But with all that being said, this is the Jordan Tatum 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Let us know what you think about these down below in the comment section. Are you excited? Are you not? Stay tuned for the performance review, by the way. Alan will take care of that shortly. And with that being said, we will catch you next time. So until then, have a good one. These are stupid lightweight though, man, I gotta say. If lightweight is all you care about, this might be one of those shoes.